let's do a little light mending, huh? We've got holes and we've got mending that I've started. So we have an ancient, ugly pair of shorts, and saw my partner. Here's some linen we're going to put on the inside of it. These are cotton, but linen should be fine, and this is about as close as we're getting to brown in what I was able to easily find. My partner was shopping for shorts, and none of them looked like they were going to fit him. And also, he has plenty of shorts. They're just coming to pieces. They took their time doing it. I don't know how old this pair is, but here we go. But we'll get these relatively invisibly mended. And then there's one other thing that I think would be nice to mend for this video. I'll be honest, I've been working on something else for another video, but it's a little more challenging, and frankly the world just seems challenging enough without adding to it at the moment, doesn't it? There we go. I'm just fussing, smoothing the edges of the patch down on the inside. You know, sometimes when the world feels overwhelming, it's like inspiration. It's a push towards something more. And sometimes when the world feels overwhelming, it's paralyzing. And when it's paralyzing, it's good to work on something that feels manageable. Something where maybe you just fix something small. It's a good plan, right? In theory. So it's a good idea to hold things flat periodically while you're stitching, yeah? And that way you won't accidentally mend in kind of a sock darn shape, right? So you hold it however it feels comfortable for your hands for stitching, and then periodically you bang it down flat again and make sure that you're not forming your clothing into an interesting bubble. No interesting bubbles unless you want them. And let's see, the linen I chose just because it's soft natural fiber and not overly solid. Like a solid close brown would be fine, or a mottled medium tone would be fine. Remember with one of the sweater mending videos, I took pictures of the threads I was using for the mend, and I changed them to black and white on the phone, and that way you can use your phone to see the values, how light or dark your material is, right? So in this case, for the thread and for the patch, that would be relevant. If you want to check it against something, if you want to try and make it relatively invisible. Oh, here we are with that. It needs to be flattened thing again. Come on. Because we're not trying to close the hole. Because if we closed the hole, it would form a horrible pucker, right? Because it was a open, gaping sort of hole to begin with. And just stitching it closed would make the opposite of the accidental dome. It would be an accidental divot. No accidental divots either. We just want it to stay about the same shape and be pinned safely down so it cannot continue unraveling, using a patch of approximately the right value and thread of approximately the right value. So the whole area will be stippled like that, so it won't look like new, but that's okay. Unless somebody's looking close, it will be completely unremarkable, which is what my partner wants out of mends. The other thing we're going to do is going to be more decorative, because I prefer that approach. So it's all about the purpose of the garment and the person it's for. Yeah. It's just individual preference, no different from when you're making the garments. Individual expression. You are, oh, stupid little thread. There we go. You are making something one of a kind. And this way, you don't even have to make the whole thing. You're saving it from being discarded. And that is noble. And my light is fading. Of course my light is fading. Foolish light. On the other hand, you definitely get the idea. Yes, it's just the same back and forthiness over and over again until the patch functions just as if it were part of the fabric. And also there is an annoying thing about jeans, other stuff like this, where the edges of these pockets, I mean, most of the reason they rip the fabric they're tied to is because they are so unreasonably thick. Like, why? Why? What purpose does it serve for that to be that many layers of such a durable fabric right there? It just strains the fabric adjacent to it. But not my decision. Not an article of clothing I fashioned myself. And therefore, just roll with it. Tie it down as best you can. Create a stable base for it to adhere to. Look how much better that looks already. And I'm going to keep stitching on it while my light charges. And in a little while, it will have functionally vanished, which will be very nice. Let's stitch over this fuzzy bit here. Hey. Stubborn. There we go. So we did 7 or 8 patches. Just a few hours of screen time, really. TV's on, and I'm just something to keep my hands busy. So there's one of them that was a belt loopy situation, and then not visible at all. Oh, there's a pocket corner. Now, there we go. See, that pocket corner actually isn't a patch. It's just reinforcing. And I think it might be a good idea to, see that? Do that on this side too. And then we'll be all done. And there we go. Because with weaving, it only works because all of the threads are sharing responsibility, right? They're all holding each other up. And so if you take a pocket and slap it on the corner and don't, you know, give those threads any help at all, then the pocket's gonna get up and run away, because that's how weaving works, is if nobody's holding it together, right? Because, yeah, the individual threads are not strong. And so it is the interlocking, it's the support system that makes clothing possible. So if you're sewing, it's a good idea to help out the places that you know are prone to failure. Although honestly, I think it's worse with fabric like this than big industrial machines, because they just slap really heavy, hard corners on them pockets and expect it to be, well, they don't expect it to be okay. It's a planned obsolescence thing, which is an evil that I should probably not rant about on my YouTube channel right now. So instead, I'm going to say all the little threads need to support each other, and if they're not doing that, then things are gonna go badly. And so what we're doing is taking doubled up considerably stronger thread and providing that support. Yeah. And then this pair of shorts will go back to being, well, I mean, he was wearing them anyway, but this way he'll get a lot more wear out of them for a lot longer. And it's funny, you'd think a pair of shorts with 8 patches on it, you'd think there wouldn't be any short left, but really, it's not visually remarkable. No, and you know, if I'd put big old flowers or something on the outside of it, then yeah, 8 would be kind of a lot of patches, and you'd have to pick a theme that you really loved. But doing fairly invisible mending, I mean, unless you, I don't know, are pretending to be a puppy dog and sniffing his pockets, you are not going to notice this. So, all is well. Just a little bit of texture and a little bit of support so the pocket doesn't get up and run away. And there's exactly no chance that my partner is going to be posing in the backyard for a reveal with this. Not that a reveal is entirely necessary, I guess. Maybe it's all about the close-ups with mending. Anyway, there's another article of clothing that's actually one I made, just threw together real quick, that needs some help. So we'll do that on this video too. With this, I'm just gonna go till the thread's finished, and then this corner will be stronger. Okie dokie, the other garment we're mending. So this one, let's say you have a rectangle of fabric that runs maybe your elbow to your elbow, and you slit it up the front, and then you sew the sides together enough so that you're just, you know, there's a spot for your arms to stick out, right? So then you've got probably the simplest possible overgarment, and if your starting point was incredibly thin cotton, then it's the simplest possible overgarment that is truly excellent for keeping off the sun and mosquitoes. So that's what I did with this, and it has served spectacularly for a while now. Opal, you want to come up and be in the movie? Nope. Anyway, she's busy eating basil. So where was I? Fumbling with this. So, as you can imagine, the weakest point on this hypothetical garment would be the behind your neck, right? Everything else is pretty stable, but that slit you cut up the front, that's a problem area. And so, that, of course, is the spot where this garment, whoopsie, sorry about that, started to fail. Let's see, there it is. So, there's the hem I created, I was very proud of. And there's the back of neck, right? Whee! And see, it tore in spite of the fact that it was doubled over, and I thought I sewed it well, but obviously not. And so should we call that a patch? I mended it. And I thought about it for a while. And in this case, there was a tunic I created from fabric I got from the scrap exchange ages ago, and I hadn't been sewing for long, and the tunic never hung right, and also it was the color, sort of color that shows sweat like immediately, but the fabric was very fine and thin, right? And so I decided to cut it up for the sake of, I guess, edging, binding all of the edges of this garment. And so now it's been used a lot of times. Now, is grayish blue an odd choice for something that is black and white and kind of off green? Yes. Yes, absolutely. But, I don't know, I think it's working. Now my intent with picking a super lightweight fabric was that I wouldn't weigh this one down, but then I'm putting like 4 layers of it right at the edge, so it is going to affect the hang. Tell me what I should have done if I really didn't want to affect the hang of it. I am curious and open to suggestions here, okay? There we go. As you can tell, this is not a fast process. Let's see, started with the strips that wide, and then I went along and folded it in half and stitched that so I'd actually have a guideline, sharp edge to work with. And now I'm just painstakingly sewing it along the open edge. Everything else has been very straight and straightforward, but now of course we're coming to the back of the neck curve. I'm trying to talk and come to the back of the neck curve, and why don't I think these things through? I don't know. But after this, I think I shall do the same thing around the armholes, because if you are making additions, changes to a garment, it's best to do it in multiple locations so it looks like you did it on purpose. At least I think so. And we are all done, which is wonderful news. Alright, oh, pockets, that's right. So, there are pockets. I snipped them off at the top and did obsessive tiny stitches to add a piece of the same fabric as all the other edging to the top of the pockets, because I'm tired of putting this thing on inside out. And then, yeah, this is a sleeve-ish. Okay, so we stitched up the sides and just left a little armhole, right? So that means it was really easy to stitch a band around most of the hole, and then at the bottom of the hole stuff got weird because it was going, because everything was like running this way, and then all of a sudden I'm sewing something this way onto the this way. I don't know if that makes any sense. So I just fudged it. I edged it closer to the outside and did a lot of stitching right here. And it does not look overly fudged. And now convention dictates that I should take my child outside and film a reveal of me wearing a very large rectangle of fabric. Convention is most peculiar. Thanks.